But to get us started off this week for our reviews, we've got Rambo First Blood Part 2.
Yeah, and so when I was looking up the poster for this, I saw some international ones. And I gotta say, Rambo, The Mission seems to be like one of the international titles for it. I think Spanish, like La Misión, and it's like that's a much better title than First Blood Part 2.
Yeah.
First Blood Part 2 doesn't make whole lot of sense.
No, it doesn't. Yeah. Well,
Although
actually,
I guess I forget, was Rambo's title in the original movie? That could be why they have to try to tie it in.
no, it was just First Blood.
Okay, never mind. That's why.
Yeah. And good to see you, Arcos.
Hey, Marcus.
And he said the Walmart DVD bin can be fun. There's some interesting stuff in there, like the Knights of the Zodiac, completely in Spanish for some reason. Still, no idea what the anime is about. Yeah, that's true. I mean, yeah, you could find some gems in the DVD bin at Walmart, and you can find some gems on TV as well.
For example, they have Ghost Stories. If you don't know what Ghost Stories is, let's just say nobody bothers watching the subbed version because Ghost Stories was made as ADV was collapsing in on itself in the late 2000s, and nobody was paying attention to what they did for this dub.
No, they didn't. Yeah. It is a fun watch, yeah. But yeah,
but back to the movie at hand.
Right, back to the movie at hand. But yeah, well, none of the Rambo titles really make any sense. I mean, you had First Blood, and then Rambo First Blood Part 2, Rambo 3 is the third one. The fourth movie is just called Rambo, and then the last one is Rambo Last Blood.
Isn't it John Rambo? Isn't one of them John Rambo, or am I misremembering?
No, I don't think so. But yeah, this movie is where the franchise went into silly territory.
Yes, and I recall hearing that the writer of the original novel, First Blood, had not positive opinions about this, and I can understand why, because it's an extremely different beast.
Yeah, and I've heard that too. But the book is pretty pretty depressing. And yes, the original ending didn't leave any room for a sequel.
Yeah, like we commented even at the time, like when we watched the first one, like I felt like that was shot in a way that there was like an alternate scene where Troutman like realized he was too broken and just killed him.
They did originally shoot that scene, yeah, but then I guess the studio didn't like it because the studio wanted them to do a sequel, so they reshot the ending where it just is him getting arrested.
Yep.
And then of course, which leads us into the movie, this movie where picks up where Rambo is he's in prison. He's working in basically doing labor. He's working in a labor camp, and it looked like a quarry. Just
classic using sledgehammers to inefficiently break rocks into smaller rocks.
Right. Yeah. And so then Troutman shows up, and of course he's like, sorry, John, I tried to keep you out of going to a place like this. Okay.
Like how he killed multiple officers.
Well, he killed one. He killed one, but he maimed a lot of them.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah, and he destroyed a small town.
Yep. Like I'm sorry. Like insanity defense or no, like you're done.
Yeah. But yeah, so he's in prison, and then Troutman comes to him and says, well, I got a way to get you out of here, but you got to do a mission for me. And he's kind of vague on I can't. Does he tell him at the prison, or does he tell him later what the mission is?
Tells him later, I think.
Yeah, but he eventually tells him, hey, I got this, opportunity for you. If you're interested. And Rambo's like, yeah, okay, yeah, sure. And it's the mission is to send Rambo into Vietnam to recon these prison camps because they believe that there are still some American POWs being held there, even though the war's been over for 10 years. And so, Rambo kind of sees this as an opportunity to, like, well, they're going to let us win this time.
It turned out that, in fact, they were not going to let them win this time.
No, they weren't. Yeah. Sorry. But yeah, so Rambo goes to Thailand with Troutman. They give him the mission. He goes and drops into Vietnam, and then he meets his contact there, who's a young Vietnamese woman named what was her name? Ko. And yes, all Vietnamese women look just like her. But yeah, so he goes in to scout out the camp, and he finds out that there are in fact POWs being held there, but he's under strict orders to just take pictures and not actually try to rescue any of them.
And what do you know? We're breezing over a couple of things. There is some crazy scenes as he comes in, like he loses his gear because he fails to get out of the airplane, right? So he has to cut himself loose.
Yeah.
He has to physically strangle a snake.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, he strangled it. And he didn't punch it like the late Chuck Norris, rest in peace. Yeah. What else happened in there? He and Ko have to hitch a ride with these pirates.
Yep. And you see that they have an RPG, Russian made.
Yes.
As we know, RPG either stands for rocket propelled grenade or Russian produced garbage, depending on your definition.
Yeah. Yeah, and of course, then there's this other subplot going in the movie with involving Troutman, of course, played by Richard Crenna, where he's some things aren't quite adding up, and because they got this bureaucrat who's basically running the whole thing, and there's a lot of political maneuvering going on.
Yeah. What do you know? He is being set up to fail. Right.
Yeah. And so so the movie basically just goes into all this whole thing where Rambo is
the loose cannon with extreme PTSD who is in prison because he went crazy and attacked the police repeatedly in this small town in the Pacific Northwest.
Yeah.
Goes rogue and tries to save like the one POW who was tied up outside that he could get at.
Right. Yeah. And
then they refused to pick him up when they show up for the recon.
Right. Because he wasn't supposed to find anybody there.
Right. I think there was like some sort of skullduggery where like they were supposed to have moved them.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And so Rambo, of course, gets really mad, and he goes full Rambo, and goes and rescues the he has to go rescue the POWs, and then get back at the bureaucrat for being a jerk.
Yep. There's a lot of crazy action scenes in between. He has these explosive arrows that are basically magic. Like, it's the type of thing where if Hawkeye had them in the Avenger movies, I think people would go, "Oh, that's too ridiculous."
Yeah, he was taking out like vehicles, cars, and trucks with him.
And like, there's a scene where he pilots a stolen helicopter, and he sets up like the most implausible trap ever, but it works because that's the type of movie this is.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Like, if I was watching this with some friends when I was 13, I would have thought this was the coolest thing ever.
Yeah. Yeah, but now at 41, you're like,
okay, like I can enjoy just insanity, like last week's Bloodsport, like that was just kind of I could have good natured fun with it, but
Yeah.
I kept thinking, darn it, I hate it when I'm right, because I predicted I would have similar feelings to this as I had about Death Wish 2,
Yeah.
which is that you have an original movie that has a point of view and a premise, and like it's food for thought, and it's got some, like, okay, that chilling performance where Stallone is breaking down at the end of Rambo 1
Yeah.
or First Blood,
Yeah.
where he's just talking, like he just becomes an incoherent mess, like his voice rising and falling in pitch, and like I think that is probably his greatest single acting moment.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
Like it just makes you realize that as much fun as it's been to watch one crazy guy go through the town, it is a tragedy that you have, like, that basically the US government turned this guy into a weapon and then gave him nothing to do and no help.
Right.
And you see it in Troutman's eyes as he realizes just how broken John Rambo is, and he realizes just how badly he's let him down.
Yeah.
There is absolutely nothing even sniffing the boots of that scene in this movie.
No, there isn't.
No, like what this is this is a feel good revenge fantasy on behalf of Vietnam vets who basically, like, okay, it's like it is generally like even the Tet Offensive, which was like where the U.S. population turned on the Vietnam War, was
Yeah.
technically a series of tactical victories for the U.S.
Yeah.
It's just that, like, it, because it was televised in the way it was, people said, "No, this is bloody carnage. What are we doing here?" And like the U.S. government set a lot of restrictions on how the military could operate that just made it impossible to do more than delay the fall of South Vietnam. So it's like a lot of blood and treasure spent for a ultimately pointless endeavor, right?
Right. Yeah.
And so I understand how it could be cathartic for people who were closer to the event than I was to watch, first off, a movie where they acknowledge the bureaucrats as the villain, and you get to watch John Rambo in his native environment, um, uh, like massacring. I don't know if they'd technically still be Viet Cong, Vietnamese torturers and Soviet agents and things like that.
Yeah.
Like that's fun, but it's like my expectations were kind of are set on him talking about it in tears about how he can't find his friend's legs.
Yeah. 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 I'm with you there. Yeah. And I will say, I think the franchise does get back on track a little bit with the last two, especially the fourth one. Although that movie was, that movie was brutal. But yeah, yeah, and I can understand that too. Yeah, because again, like this movie was only 10 years removed from when the Vietnam War ended, which in hindsight, as you older you get, you realize, well, 10 years wasn't that long ago.
Yep.
So yeah, I could definitely see that. Yeah.
Yep. Now, and that also kind of matches the trajectory of Death Wish, because we
Yeah.
thought that, or at least I thought the second one was just kind of mean spirited and exploitative without any of the depth of the first one.
Yeah.
But then the third one just embraced being a full cartoon. It's like, okay,
Yeah.
now we can have fun.
Yes. And I will say Rambo 3 definitely fell into that category too, for just being a cartoon.
The fact that it was dedicated to the brave fighters of the Mujahideen in Afghanistan is just, mwah,
Yeah.
takes it
Yeah.
aged like milk.
Yes. Ooh. But yeah, I mean, this movie is, it is what it is. It's not a, yeah, if you're expecting the poignant melodrama of the first movie. Yeah, you're not going to find that with this one. This one, he's just, going all out, being an action hero.
He is a superhuman, and
Yes.
like on that level, the action is well shot. It's fun. It's just not what I was after, or what. Actually, it's what I feared, and so I probably would have been more open to it if I hadn't expected it.
Yeah, yeah.
It's like how if a movie is bad and you expect it to be bad, it just doesn't help it at all. Or if a movie is good and you expected it to be good, you don't like give it extra credit.
Right. Yeah.
It's like, I thought this movie would be silly, and it was definitely silly.
Yeah. Yeah, but currently on Tubi. Yeah.
Yep.
Or I think it's on Tubi until the end of the month.
So not a lot of time to watch it.
Not a lot of time, yeah. Although Tubi, like they frequently cycle these movies through, so who knows? It might not be off for very long.
Yep. Did you have any of your own thoughts? I kind of monologued for a minute there.
No, I kind of tend to agree with you. I mean, I thought the third act was a lot of fun. With all the different action sequences. And it is goofy, fun action there. I thought it maybe gave John Rambo a bit of a redemption arc, if in a way.
It's definitely it's kind of like the fantasy that John Rambo would have in prison.
Right. Yeah. Ooh, that could be a theory.
I wasn't even thinking about that.
Yeah. Maybe this is all a fantasy in his head about it. Nah. But no, I mean it's decent enough. I mean,
yep. It did apparently win a bunch of Razzies the year it came out, and I can see why.
Yeah.
Okay. But it's a classic of a sort.
Yeah.